Hey guys, this is Lance with Farmore. We're here in Chicago filming some interviews for a client of ours. And today we want to talk about traveling for video work and how to get great results in an environment where you don't always have full control. Let's get into it. A big thing when we travel for work is we don't always have time to scout the space before we get there. So a lot of times what happens is we show up, we assess the room on site, and then we find workarounds from there. A big thing with this space was we're working with pretty low ceiling heights. It's maybe about, I'm 6 foot, this is maybe just under 8 feet. So from a lighting perspective, I knew right away, okay, we got to find a way to bring the talent lower to the ground. So we initially had plans to utilize a stool for talent, and we had to kind of make sort of a second effort here and find a different chair that worked. And so thankfully we're filming in a hotel, there's plenty of chairs around and available to us. And this brought talent lower to the ground, which was able to bring our lighting down, bring our cameras down onto a plane that made sense. So because we're shooting interviews, we needed to kind of create a look that was consistent for different skin tones, different heights, different wardrobe. So we opted for a pretty traditional 3-point lighting setup. And what we're using is Aperture 600D with a light dome. We also have an egg crate on here, which is kind of just helping with spill on the backdrop. The biggest hurdle that we had and that we faced was initially we just had the softbox on. We were trying to get the angle and positioning of light so we could get a nice kind of fall off on the face, but we were just getting too much background spill. And so what we kind of see here is sort of a halfway point where we're able to get enough light on the talent with the positioning of the light stand here and the limitation of the height of the ceiling. And then the egg crate is helping with spill on the backdrop. And so that's kind of our key light. We have just a really simple little bounce here that is acting as some subtle fill on their left side. And we have an Aperture 60X that's acting as just a nice little kicker, little edge light here, just adding a little bit of interest to them, helping them pop from the background. And speaking of the background, that really was the biggest hurdle that we faced when we came in. We had this backdrop, we had a finite amount of lights that we could bring with us. So now it was, okay, how do we kind of make this this background kind of add a little bit of interest visually to it. So what we were able to do is use our other 600D that we brought. Using this diffusion here, just get a little bit of kick onto the background. And what that's doing is just adding a little bit of halation to the background, a little bit of visual interest, just so it's not all one standard gray color. Again, when you travel, you don't always have access to everything like you maybe would with a grip truck when you're on location locally. We were able to get this stool here. We just have an A-clamp that's holding up this diffusion. Just to the left of frame, it doesn't look the prettiest, but it gets the job done and it's serving its purpose just fine. A really big thing when you travel is you need to kind of take into account packing light. A lot of airlines kind of charge you per the weight of the item. So we have learned over the years the best thing to do is to bring light stands. Don't worry about renting C-stands. It's a hassle sometimes. You don't always have time to find a production company or a production house, rental house locally to rent from. If you have time, great. For us, usually we're flying in, setting up the same day. A lot of times we're tearing down and heading out that night for efficiency. So for us, we've really found these Manfrotto light stands to be great for traveling because they nest. So we can fit them inside a longer Pelican case and they all pack up really nicely. They also get to about 10 feet tall too. So depending on what you need to rig up, they're pretty sturdy for their weight and their portability. We're able to bring about 5 or 6 stands with us for each shoot. And these have been really, really great, highly recommended. So that's kind of a brief insight into our thought process when we're traveling on location, especially when we're working with a small crew size and a limiting set. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one.